Okay, here we are at Basic Presenting for Hangouts, tips, tricks, kit, and a live app test. If you open the group chat, I've put some show notes in there so you can follow the show along with those. But otherwise, let's get on with it. So we'll go from this slide now to me, and you'll be able to see me. Start. And here I am. Okay, so the first thing is, obviously, if you're watching live, then you're going to see me like pressing buttons and doing stuff. And I should probably give you a heads up about some other stuff. Obviously, as you can see, the light is flooding into the room where I'm presenting from. Also, my landline phone is just sitting over there on the side, so that's could ring at any time. It's almost always a spam bot, so that'll be even more amusing. It's not even anyone I'll want to speak to, but it may happen. My mobile phone is there, so that could ring. My wife's in the front room, so she could have an accident. I could urgently have to leave the Hangout to go and attend to my injured wife. Or the doorbell could ring, or I mean, I'm not in a studio. We don't have like an on-air sign or anything, not today anyway. So we're not in a studio today, although we could be, and we haven't got an on-air sign. And I've kind of done that deliberately in a way, because what it tells you is straight away, a Hangout is not a television program. And if you haven't done a Hangout before, or if you've watched one before, you may notice a few things. First of all, I am actually talking to you via a camera, and quite a lot of people do that. Some people like to switch the camera off and leave their little chat head there. And I'll get onto why I don't think that's such a good idea later. But the Google Hangouts environment is a very strange environment. And if you're not used to it, it can be really scary. And it's the fact that, they put all the handy stuff on the screen, like they tell you that it's live. I can see down here on the screen that it tells me that I'm live. And you can see a little thing that tells you how loud you're speaking or how loud it's coming across on the presentation, all that stuff. It's got a little yellow square in the corner of my thing saying, "You are live." So it's just really telling you this stuff, and that can be scary as hell. So how to make it less scary than hell? Well, the number one thing I could probably do is tell you that you're going to have to practice. This is like you could practice in private first of all. A lot of the screen furniture and the apps and stuff, they're available in private Hangouts that you can enjoy with your friends. So probably that's a good place to start. I've done that about 3 or 4 times, just had a private Hangout. But a private Hangout is not a Hangout on air. They're completely different things. Before we really get into the nitty-gritty of all of that, though, it would probably be better for me to point something out, which is that I'm expecting that people who watch this video will come in one of 2 broad categories. Those people who are watching this who are over 25, and those people who are under 25. And those people who are over 25 may not have an understanding of the expectations of an audience member who is under 25. And those people who are under 25 don't realize, I think, that older people have a whole wealth of experience of, those of us who are, if you are like me, quite decrepit, nearly 40 years of age, you've been watching television your whole life, and Google now gives you this platform to broadcast to the world. But I think I'm not alone in the fact that I was expecting that if I was ever going to do this, if ever I was going to do a live Hangout, I would, get a camera, I would set up a studio, it would be like Blue Peter or something, or the news, and that's what it would be. But Google Hangouts really isn't about that at all. And I think anyone under 25 kind of instinctively understands that. I've been watching some live Hangouts, and this is why, one of the reasons why we're going to go into today is things that people are doing wrong. And I don't mean like to say, oh, you were doing this, wrong and you should do it. We're all going to learn together. And there are things that I have learnt I've got loads more to learn, like absolutely tons. But there are things that I have learned that are really kind of very, very basic things that you could do when you're doing a live Hangout that would just improve it a lot. So I thought that that would be a good idea for an impromptu Hangout experience, even if nobody is watching. And it tells you like how many viewers you have in the corner, which can be frightening. I imagine if you get a lot of people watching live, it probably would be frightening, or it would become more concerning. That thankfully the text on the viewers is really small, so you don't have to look at it. You can even just put maybe a little bit of tapes over there. I don't want to know. It's probably quite a good way to go on that. But then, you know, if you, I mean, this is the thing. I think on the other hand, if you have 0 viewers, you feel a bit like, you know, you're howling at the moon or something. But obviously, a Hangout is not just for now; it is also for after the Hangout is over. And so you can kind of rest assured that that in the long run, people may watch the archive video of the Hangout, and you really have to be presenting for that archival idea. I mean, really, if it was just a live broadcast and then it would disappear, and don't worry, if it all goes so hideously wrong that you don't want it hanging around on YouTube forever, you can get rid of it, so that's fine. But really, you have to be hanging out and presenting with the idea that people are going to watch it afterwards and they will want to get some content out of it. So that's sort of set up the Hangout world for those of you that don't know, which is probably just about everybody who's ever going to watch this. I'm going to go back now. Now, one of the things about it is, after you've edited it in the archive, there is an editor. I might do a sort of screen share of how the editor works at a different time. But there is an editor that you can go through and nip and tuck. But obviously live, it's going to be a bit raw. So I'm going to go over here and click on the screen share. And I'm going to share the presentation with you again. So here it comes. Oh, yes, I've got to press the actual share button. A lot of buttons to press here. There we are. We're back at the presentation now. And I'm just going to move the slide along on here. Okay, so we're going to talk about Google presentations to start with. Now, talking of Google presentations, what I'm showing with you here is a Google slideshow. And I put this together in literally 3 minutes before we began. And I put it together chiefly to have something to use the presentation thing with. Now, I have got a Skype window open. Someone's Skyping. I think it's someone who's going to go. What's that? And Ian, my friend Ian, is asking me, am I doing some kind of Hangout? Yes, I'm going to type, I am live. I may cut this out of the archive of this, but maybe I won't. This is the joy of it. So yes, now that I think there is a sort of a crossover here. And if you have friends who are going to watch your Hangout, you have, if you've not used Hangouts before, I'll come back to my window for a minute. This has been an entertaining diversion. Yeah, you have, if you are a Google Plus user, which I guess you must be to be watching this. Maybe they let people who don't have Google Plus watch it. I don't know, because I have a Plus account. But as a Plus person, you have like a URL that Google have attached to your Google Plus account, which acts like a phone number, and that is like your Hangout. And that's your private Hangout. So it's not a Hangout on air. It's just for you to talk with people you invite into the Hangout. But on the other side of that, there is the live Hangout. And the live Hangout doesn't happen, I don't think, at your Hangout. It just happens at this internet location. I think it's captured in a Google event. Now, I know that many of you may be asking yourself at this question, could Google possibly make it any more difficult to get involved with this? Because you need to know, oh, I've got my private Hangout, I've got my public. The answer is, yeah, they probably could. But the technology is still fairly in its infancy, and so people are going to have to get along with it at the moment. We are what is known in the trade as early adopters, and so, you know, I think the answer to that is tough nuggies, but there we go. I am going to help out my friend Ian now. At the top of the screen, I've got a little thing that allows me to invite people, so I'm going to send my invitation to leoself@gmail.com to Ian, because he wanted to watch it. So there we go. Oh, that's a watch, though, isn't it? No, I'm going to have to cancel that. No, can't do it. No, close, go away. No, right, yes. Sorry, I've just realised if I add people, they will be in the Hangout here with us, and I'm doing a solo Hangout, so he's just going to have to work out how to get in himself or watch the archive. That's the good thing, you know. If you've got your presentation, you've got your material, you should just tell people, oh, I couldn't get into it. You could just go, watch it later. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Let us return to our screen share presentation. So here we go. Sharing again. So we got as far as the top of the screen, and then there are some bullets on this. So the first thing I'm going to say is, yeah, first of all, well, basically this is like the tools that you can use to present. So the first thing is presenting. And this is where I'm going to get into this thing of, you can see me and you can see the sun coming through my gigantic patio doors and the mess of a bookshelf behind me. You can see that I'm talking into a microphone and that I've got a set of headphones on. You can see all of these things when I'm presenting live. And this is where the 25 bisection comes in. I think if you're under 25, you go, yeah, cool. I mean, the worst things are not the fact that someone is... the worst things for you to see are not like the fact someone's got headphones on, or they're talking into a microphone, or the shelf behind their head is messy. The worst thing is when they're not looking at the camera, and so they're kind of looking off to the side, or they're staring at their keyboard and mumbling, or it's too dark, or that there's no sort of attempt to present at all. And second to this, only as the worst things that could happen are things like... oh, Ian's talking to me again. You see, I've told him I'm live on air. Yeah, he's going to... Oh, he can see me now, and he's viewing me. Well, he's not viewing me. He's viewing the presentation. Hello, Ian. Yes, I can see you're there. This is the thing about it. It's so immediate. That's why I think that presenting is far more a worthwhile thing to do than... If you want to chat with me, Ian, don't put it in Skype. There's a chat window, group chat by the side. You can type in there, and I can see it come up, or at least I think I can. And that's kind of the point of this presentation. So try and see if you can open the group chat window and say hello to me that way. That would be cool. Yeah, there's that live immediacy. I mean, when you're doing something live like this, you might have these things come up. And I think just having a chat head, unless you really have audio content down. The good thing about being a chat head that then does a PowerPoint presentation or a screen share is that you can script it and you can read off the script live. You know, you could have like a teleprompt software or something like that. The downside is, I think if you're going to do this, you may as well go hell for leather. Yes, it does mean you're going to have to comb your hair, which I didn't bother to do, have a shave, which I didn't bother to do, or put on a shirt, which I didn't bother to do. But it depends, whatever you feel comfortable. You have to find a way to feel comfortable in front of the camera. So for when you're there, I would always recommend presenting rather than just having a chat head and then doing a screen share. I am obviously doing a screen share, but I am cutting back and forth between the presentation and the screen share. So yes, that's your second tool, screen sharing, and you can share anything. Now, I happen to have two screens here, so I can see what I'm presenting to you in one window, and in the other window I have the thing, what it is that I am sharing. I would totally recommend this. Having two monitors, it's a developer thing. I've been a software developer for many years, and I've read all the cool statistics, like if a developer has one screen, then they can be optimally productive. But if you give them two, their optimal productivity goes up like 60%. Just by adding the extra screen, giving them that extra real estate. After that, I'm sorry, any developers who are trying to pitch for a third screen or maybe a rack, like some kind of thriller with 6 screens everywhere. I'm afraid that after that, the figures go down rapidly. 3 screens does not make you any much particularly more productive, but 2 screens is about the sweet spot. So I would recommend, and these days, you just plug the screen in, and Windows 7 and up, maybe Vista, actually. No, Vista was a bit of a pain. I had that, and it wasn't so good. But 7 and 8, You just plug it in and it goes, oh, you've got an extra screen. They're kind of expecting it, to be honest. So it's not even that difficult to do. So yeah, screen sharing is good. At the moment, you're not seeing much because I literally did this presentation in 3 minutes beforehand. So I would totally recommend that if you're going to do some kind of presentation like this, that you do a bit more work. But hey, this is a practice, so that's what it's all about. And then last of all, you've got the Q&A app. Now, we haven't used the Q&A app, and we're probably going to have a go at that later on. I'm getting Ian on Skype again saying he can't do it. He is unable to find the group chat at this time. Well, that's a bit rubbish. I have to say that is, oh, maybe it's group chat between the people who are in the presentation. Okay, so there we go. We have all learned something today, including me. And what I've learned is that basically the group chat will be for all the heads that are involved. So one of the archive chats we've got is the three of us, me and Ian and Justin, who are the 80s kids, and we do a film podcast on that gets released every Thursday, and we record it on a Saturday. And I assume that basically we could type things to one another while the thing was going on that was secret and say, oh, do you want to mention this? Or I'm about to say that. So it's a way for us. But then, of course, you're going to have to look down and type. So, you know, it's a trade-off. Okay, so that's the presentations slide. We're going to move on now to another slide. And the next slide is about the kit that you need. As you could see, when you could see me and when you see me again in a bit, there is some kit that you will need probably to do Google Hangout live on air. The first piece of kit that you're going to need is a microphone. And the reason for that is that although a lot of laptops come with onboard microphones and things like that, you can't beat a real microphone. Most people who do this, they use a USB microphone. And I'm going to be honest with you, for a little bit of a toy type thing, they're not cheap. But if you're using this for business or you're using it for some sensible purpose, then I would totally recommend you get a USB microphone and use that, because it will just audio is the key to an effective presentation. It's weird because, you know, this is supposed to be visual. You're supposed to be seeing stuff. But really, if the sound quality is rubbish, people don't want to waste. It's not, you know, a Charlie Chaplin film. They want to see and they want to hear. But actually, subconsciously, they want to hear clearly more than they want to see. So the microphone, absolutely essential. Next thing I'm going to say is headphones. Yeah, the reason I say headphones is, one, because you should be able to get the headphones to feed back into your ears, and you don't want to have a live monitor. I have muted my laptop sounds because although, yes, the landline might ring, and although, yes, my mobile phone might ring and all of this kind of stuff, that's all fine. If your speakers are on and the microphone picks them up, the number of disasters I have had with echoing feedback. You could go and listen to our webcast, the audio of our webcast of the 80s kids. And at the end, I've put a little bit where one of us had a bit of a feedback problem where there was a slight delay of about 20 seconds of the live feed, and it was coming out of his speaker and then going back into his microphone, which was putting it back in, and it was just appalling. So the best thing to do is to make sure that all of your sound that you can possibly get to come into the headphones you're wearing is coming in there. So that kind of, I suppose, explains why it is that I'm visibly using a microphone and wearing headphones. And then the last piece of kit, camera, question mark. I see I'm mixing it up with a little bit of mystery here. Now, I'm using today, right now, the onboard laptop camera that I have, and that's fine. The reason that it's fine, I shall go into when I come back on to CFS. But what I'm saying is that as long as it's a decent enough camera, as long as it doesn't look like you're on the International Space Station or anything, I think that people are going to follow it along. And obviously, you've got your screen sharing as well. So as long as the camera's good enough for you to do a few talkie heads, people want to see ahead, I think. And, you know, I realize that at the moment that looks a bit hypocritical, so I'm going to move on. Yeah, that's the last one. Death by slide, that's quite enough of that. Yeah, it's a terrible thing, so I'm going to stop presenting now. A little joke to finish off the presentation. Basically, I was realized, well, this is a very boring presentation. In future, now that I have used the screen sharing app, which I have not actually used before, now you might be thinking, well, there's so much else going on here. How did you manage to do that in such a professional manner? The reason was when I entered the Hangout, about 5-6 minutes early and just did a lot of, and so if I press this, the screen gets shared. If I press that, it stops getting shared. And if I press this, the presentation goes on. Okay, I'm going to set the presentation back to the beginning. Do a little bit of practice. The screen sharing thing is fantastic. So basically, anything that you can share off a screen, and obviously then if you have a second screen, like I do, then you can put all of your materials on that screen and you still got your monitor. Now, that's a very dangerous thing. Just for those of you that aren't sort of media savvy, the monitor is the thing that shows you what's going out live now, and that's what you see in the Hangout. Now, I'll tell you why that's dangerous. Is because I'm talking now to the little pinhole of the camera that is in the top of my laptop screen. So where is my face? I am now going to look at my face. My face is there. I am now looking at my face. I am now seeing my face looking down at my laptop keyboard. It doesn't look quite as engaging, I don't think. I can't tell because I can't watch myself looking at you out there in Google land, because if I do, then I'm looking at the pinhole and I am in my own peripheral vision. That could get a little bit confusing, but it's a habit you're going to have to get into. Okay. So we've talked about the kind of kit that you're going to need: a microphone, USB preferably, maybe a webcam might be a good idea. And then you obviously need your headphones as well to be able to hear back what you're going and to get any external sounds coming through. I mean, you don't have to have those headphones. I think it's just a bit of a security blanket. So that's kit. The things available to you: presenting, screen sharing, all of that kind of stuff. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about problems you may already be having with this. For a start, I'm sitting here with the Silver Princess Leia bun thing going on here, and you can see my microphone spoffle thing, the pop shield and everything down in the corner of the screen, and it all looks a bit like, oh, I'm watching him record a radio show or something. And when I watch the news, it doesn't work like that. Well, I've got news for you. On the news, they have a big crew. They have a guy measuring the sound. They have a guy doing the camera. They have a guy to do, or a girl, equal opportunities, the whole thing. They've got someone to do all of those things for the person doing the presenting. If you're doing a Hangout, if you're in control of the Hangout, you could get a production team together, but you are the production team. You're doing the presenting, and they've given us tools so that if it's 3 or 4 of us, we can share the burden of producing the program as it goes out. So you can get your heads together and work out who's going to be controlling the camera at what time, who's going to be monitoring the levels, and so on. But if you're on your own, that's it. You're looking at your own monitors. You're monitoring your own voice. You're doing it all. So people are going to have to get used to it. Those of you under 25 at this time are like, yeah, well, duh, because this is the world that you live in. So welcome. This is you. You realize, I think that the generation that's coming up now in 15 years' time is going to have a massive advantage over old people. We thought we had a bit of an advantage when all the blogging came along. Those of us who grew up in the 80s, like, oh yeah, I'm getting along with PCs now. It's all great. And now it's just blown out of the water. We're getting left behind every year, and the gap is getting further and further. And for that reason, all the people who are worried about, oh, there's too much light, the picture isn't quite right, and all of this kind of stuff, all those people are the people who are over 25 who are used to watching television. Well, it's not going to matter. In 15 years, people are just going to have grown up being used to, well, you've got television, of course, and then you've got Google type YouTube television, which is what this is. So, you get some benefits. For a start, there's humanness, there's engagement, there's immediacy, and all stuff like that. So now I'm going to go on to some preparation basics. If you're going to do a Google Hangout, what can you do? Right. The first thing is that there's a saying that practice makes perfect. That's not true. Practice, any old practice, does not make you perfect. You can do something 1,000 times and you could get no better at it. How depressing is that? But there is a saying which is true, which is perfect practice makes perfect. What is perfect practice? Perfect practice is that everything you do, you should assess it, you should take a look back at it, you should say, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? You should get feedback and try and improve it the next time. I've realized that I was put down for a half-hour hangout now, and I've got 5 minutes left to get through the rest. So I'm going to kind of put my head down and race for the door. I'm hoping that the kind of speed and the rhythm of this hangout worked out okay, because I think to a lot of people, all this hangout stuff is very new. So, you know, let's hope that that's true. Also, you know, my presentation, that wasn't very visually engaging, was it? No. But, you know, that's what kind of part of what you signed up for with the disclaimer on this hangout. I'm probably saying R quite a lot. I am terrible for R. I use R like an airplane captain, you know. Good morning. We are cruising at a height of 35. You know, they seem to fill all the vocal pauses. I've listened back to myself speaking, and that is something that I do. And I really need to learn to just shut my mouth when the sentence is over, or if I am taking a pause, because what I usually do is fill it up with an So, you know, that is something I am going to work on. And if you want to listen to watch my presentations regularly and pick me up on it, well, okay, so pedantry is a thing, but yeah, carry on. I need those notes. Yeah, then I'm talking of notes. Obviously, if I was sitting here with a paper in my hand going, and now this, and here I am now talking to you, and I've lost my place, hang on, then that would be bad. I go to Toastmasters Club, a presentation club near to where I live, and at Toastmasters they encourage a fluid delivery style through practice, just the same way as with the Hangout. And they have a person there whose job is nominated. They don't have to seem like a pedant, because someone comes to them at the beginning and says, "You're tonight's R counter," and they count the R's. He said, saying, yeah, you don't want to be looking at notes all the time, and even bullet notes. You want to prepare it, you want to have run through it, you want to have said it. Notes are fine, I suppose. I've got them in the group chat. You can have a look. You can see where we're at to. I've already said microphone headphones, alerts, which is what I brought you up at the beginning of the show. In the normal run of things, make sure you're not sitting near your landline. Make sure if the doorbell rings, make sure you're far enough away it doesn't pick up on the broadcast. And I'm afraid if someone is at the door, they're just going to have to go away, because you're doing a hangout. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. So yeah, those are things you want to have it distraction free as possible. In an ideal scenario, I wouldn't have the blazing sun making half the, you know, it looks like they go into the light over here. That I wouldn't recommend that in the general run of things. Also, I mean, the other thing that is kind of obvious is that the angle of the laptop camera there is probably not the best. It's not the most advantageous. If I had a best side, this camera would not show it. So that's why, you know, maybe you want to get a camera to make yourself feel more comfortable. Having said that, every time you add a new piece of kit or a new piece of preparation, you're taking down the fact that you can do this kind of thing quite immediately, that your preparation should go into your content and not into the way that your content is presented technically. So whatever's good for you. So I guess that's kind of everything I've got. Well, everything I've got just to say off the top of my head. So at this stage, I am going to open the Q&A tool. So here it comes, Q&A tool. So the group chat is now closed and the questions are open. And I've just realized that I can't see my notes anymore. What have we got? We've done screen share. I'm not going to do YouTube, and I've done a presentation. So that's fine. So this is really the last thing. And I know that the person who is watching live is Ian, and he is talking to me on Skype again. So, I mean, to be honest, there's no reason why you can't have a Skype that goes as well. But then you have to tell your audience, oh, well, you have to friend the person on Skype and then you have to have your Skype window open, and like I'm just doing now, moving it across to the presentation screen, exiting the presentation because it's gone full screen, and going back to Skype again. I'll have a look. Yeah, thanks, mate. He once thought about making a show reel of me saying ums. Great. Okay, Mr. Clever Clogs. See if you can open the Q&A tool and insult me via that medium. That would be a good thing for you to do because it would show me how it works. It says at the top of the Q&A tool, ask your audience to submit questions and they will appear below. Not the audience, I'm assuming. I'm assuming it's the questions that appear below. Let's see if it works. See, there's one for the show reel. I'm going to now break the fourth wall. I don't know. I think that Google Hangouts kind of breaks the fourth wall anyway. I mean, you're kind of talking to people live. It's a very real artifact of liveness. So I'm going to now break maybe what we could call the fifth wall and type into my Skype window saying, are you having a go at it then? I've gone to bed. No, he hasn't, because I can see that he's watching. So there he is. So we'll be able to wait and see. I can always clip out the space while he's trying to get it to work. He cannot find the Q&A tool at the moment. He will have a look. Okay. Just to try and help out, if in the Hangout, I'm imagining if you see the same thing, I don't know, because I've not had an opportunity to go into a Q&A Hangout yet myself, but I am totally going to go into the next one that I see and try and ask a question so I can help people out with this. But if you move your mouse over to the left-hand side of the screen where all the apps appear, including the one, while we're waiting, everybody, let's put on Google Effects for a second. For some reason, it always downloads the app whenever you put Google Effects on. And you can have a chortle at me wearing a cat in the hat. There I am. If you haven't used this in Google Hangouts, by the way, at home, I'm going to go for a monocle, I think. And I'm going to go for, which one? The mustache. Yes, as you can see, I mean, really, if you're trying to do a serious Hangout, there's not much to this. It kind of tries to track your head as you move around. So there we go. It doesn't quite work. One of my favorite ones, actually, I'm going to switch facial hair. I'm going to switch off the mustache and just have that, is the goatee. Because if you move your head forward quick enough, it looks like it can't quite track where your chin is properly. So it looks like you're trying to eat the goatee. Here we go. There we go. See, I've eaten the goatee now. So there we go. And I'm going to close. Oh, I better switch off all the effects. I think sometimes it leaves the effects on if you close the actual thing. Cool. Right. And we're back over here, and I'll put the Q&A tool on. And he's telling me the issue is he can't see the apps pane. Okay. I shall work on it and try again. So, like I said, I mean, there's enough. He knows he's watching it. Why do I now send it on Skype? Because there we go. Brilliant. He's actually managed to find it and he's brought it up. Okay. So he's asked the question, which I am now going to select. Selecting the question, so he's putting up there. And the question from Ian is, what do you think was the moment our podcast really came together? And I'm going to answer the question because, hey, it's a plug for the podcast apart from anything else. Rent to the 80s Kids every Thursday. Download it from iTunes or any of the usual places. Revenge of the 80s Kids. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think that really there was one moment when our podcast came together. We recorded a few, and you and I, Ian, started to get into a rhythm. And we do shows about the genre films that came out in a particular year, and we got all the way through. We started at 1975. Well, actually, we did 2 shows before that. I think a show. That's the way it went. I remember now. We did like before 1975. Then we did like 75, 76 and 77 as one show, and then we did 78 and 79. So we really did 2 what we would call 3 year shows, and then we did 2 like a top 5 of the 70s. And by that time, me and Ian had kind of got a thing. We worked out a rhythm. So then along comes Justin, and in 1980, Justin came into the show, and we reworked, and it became. We actually got into that rhythm fairly quickly, and that's how it was for quite a long time. We just did the show, and we continued, and then on one show, and I can't remember which show it is, but Ian will be able to remember this. We did a skit at the beginning of the show. We did I thought we might do a little silly thing, and slowly over time. Now, I've always been conscious of the fact I think that there's a lot of people who get flack who do shows about a non-fiction topic, who have skits that slowly take over their material. But I've always wanted to keep it down. Just, it's a little thing. It's at the beginning. It's gone in a hurry. And there we go. So I think by the time, it got, the thing that sticks in my head is, this might be a depressing one. I don't know, a depressing thought. But I remember when in the 90s, we did a skit about Titanic. And Titanic, we time traveled onto the Titanic. Before this, we'd done the Christmas episode, which was like a half-hour drama. I wouldn't call that coming together. That was like a special thing that we did. And that's where the more elaborate skits came from. And we did this show about the Titanic. And in that show, I remember distinctly that it was a pretty good, elaborate little skit. And I think that from that point on, everything else has just been elaboration on a basic theme. So I don't know what show the Titanic. It must have been quite a long time, maybe over a year. But at that point, that the podcast had finished being everything that it was going to be. I'm going to answer one last question, because that's the only question that is, which is an actual question about the topic of the show, which is, do you think direct eye contact with the camera is all that vital? Yes and no. I think that certain audience members are going to expect you to be talking to them, and I think that's going to make them feel more reassured. If you watch a lot of people, and I'm not counting like Ashens, because it's his hands and a sofa, but I am counting Russell Brand, who does the Trues. Russell Brand obviously is a more of a broadcaster than just a YouTuber, but he is maintaining eye contact with the camera throughout. And I think it is an important tool in building rapport with people who expect it. But yeah, maybe in 15 years' time, nobody will care. They'll all understand. People understand immediate broadcasting these days. So I think that's going to be... So we're done with that question. So if you've joined us, or if you're watching this and you found it useful, thank you very much. There will be comments under the YouTube video, of course. I'm Leo Stableford of Spinning Monkey Media, and thank you for joining me on this Hangout. Hopefully see you again. Bye.